a little bit like he has in our scenario, it wouldn't shock me to see the Ravens try to pop up ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers to try to land it.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. Devin Bush is really good, but I think the Texans are gonna run to the podium with this pick, Cody Ford, because they desperately need O-line help, and they are getting the best one available who can play both interior and exterior. So I'm going with Cody Ford.
Nice. So I've got Oakland again. No pressure.
Yeah. Gavin, you'll get the pick, but after you pick, I just want to go around the table and see who everyone else would have picked as well. So go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so why not pair Gary and Conley with a really, really good cornerback in this year's draft, Greedy Williams?
Love it.
I think that makes perfect sense. You lock up the defense in coverage, and I think that would be a perfect fit at 24.
Ray, who would you have picked?
I am unconventional in this thought, meaning that most Raider Nation vilified me when I mocked him there. I would go Chris Lindstrom, guard. John Gruden said, "Hey, we got a holy guard." Boston College is where Mike Mayock's from, and I expect him to take at least 2 guys from BC.
Hello?
Hello?
I thought you just dropped off for a second.
Oh.
Sorry, repeat that. Last thing you said was Mike Mayock's from there?
Yeah, Mike Mayock's a Boston College cat, so I expect him to take at least 2 this draft.
All right. Mike?
Yeah, again, Ray, you're right. You look at the list of official visits, the top 30 visits for the Raiders, and it's just littered with Boston College players. So I'm actually a little bit nervous. I hope we don't draft 7 players from Boston College, although Lindstrom is very talented and very worthy of this pick here. So I love Greedy Williams. I think I'm going to have to agree with Gavin on this one. The one other player that I would strongly consider right here, though, is Noah Fant. I think he's unfairly being billed as sort of just like an oversized receiver, but he can play inline tight end. He can block. I think if it came down to it, though, I would take Greedy Williams, especially since you look at the Philadelphia Eagles picking 25th. They're not going to take a tight end. They just drafted Dallas Goedert, and they also have Zach Ertz, obviously. And the Colts may, but Eric Ebron's still there for another year, along with Jack Doyle. And if nobody trades up ahead of the Raiders at 27, I think they might be able to land Fant at 27. So I'm just going to agree with Gavin here and go Greedy Williams. I think he's severely underrated, and he would be a great pair with Gary and Conley.
Now, wouldn't Noah Fant be more of a what do you call it? A luxury pick with all the needs that we have in the roster? Or is he too good to pass up at that spot?
I just think he's such a weapon, and the loss of Jared Cook is really going to hurt. I think if they don't replace him. At the same time, you look at John Gruden's last go around with the team. Roland Williams wasn't really much of a receiver. I know he had Ricky Dudley there at the beginning of his tenure. But it's going to be interesting to see if the Raiders want to replace Jared Cook with another athlete like Fant, or if they're just, maybe they're happy with drafting a guy like Drew Sample from Washington, who's a little bit more of a blocker, along with Lee Smith and Derek Carrier later in the draft.
Yeah, I was doing some research. I made a list of top guaranteed money per position and top 15 top 15 salary for each position, and it looks like running back and tight end are like the least valued in the NFL. So I was thinking that I was thinking most teams probably, but I guess if the talent is there, even though the position of value might not be as high, you can get away with it. I mean, look at Gronk. So it all depends on the player. So anyway, Ray, you're up with the Eagles.
When I look at the Eagles roster, I just think about what can I do for Carson Wentz, and I'm torn between two guys. One is running back Josh Jacobs, and the other one is Hollywood Brown from Oklahoma. And I know they traded for Jordan Howard, so I'm going to lean and go with Marquise Brown here. Give Carson Wentz just some dude that's like electrifying on the outside. But they brought back Deshaun Jackson, right? Is that correct?
They did. Yep.
And Marquise can learn under him because I think he's the next speedster like him. So I'll take Marquise there.
Awesome. Mike, you got the Colts.
Yep, so I think the Colts, they have a number of options here. They could go Josh Jacobs, running back from Alabama, plug him right in. I know Marlon Mack had a pretty good year. Nyheim Hines is locked into that passing game role, that sort of third down back role. They could take Noah Fant because Eric Ebron's only got a year left on his deal. And we know that Frank Reich likes to use multiple tight ends. He did it in Philadelphia with Trey Burton and Ertz, and you saw it last year again with the Colts. However, I'm going to take Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle from Clemson here. I just think he's a good value at this spot, and the Colts will be happy to bolster their defense a bit.
Awesome. All right, I got the Raiders. Obviously, edge is a big need here, but I just don't see any of these guys that I want to take this high. Maybe with the 35th pick, we can get somebody on the edge player because there's a few guys: Winovich, Collier, Jalen Ferguson, Zach Allen would fit. But with the last pick in the first round, I think I'm gonna solidify the interior. Should I go Dalton Risner or Chris Lindstrom? Chris Lindstrom has guard experience. Dalton Risner might be more of a projection at guard, even though I'm sure he can play. But Chris Lindstrom really killed it in the Senior Bowl, so I'm going to go with Chris Lindstrom. What do you guys agree with this, or would you guys have went in a different direction for the Raiders?
To be honest,
so I really like this one. I think that was. I think he played right guard at Boston College. I think, I think he's very, very much in the mix for 27 and 35. I don't think he goes any lower than that. And I think the Raiders, if they take him, you plug him right into right guard, move Gabe Jackson back to left guard, and that's a strong offensive line.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, do you think Jerry Tillery, if drafted by the Raiders, could play strong side defensive end, or is he just a pure three technique guy?
I think he's really more of a three technique, and he's an interesting guy because I've heard a lot of scouts say they're a little bit worried about him just because apparently he's just an intelligent guy who has a lot of different options, and there are scouts who are worried how much he loves football, and they kind of wonder if it's important enough to him to keep playing if things start to go south. The injury doesn't concern me. I think he'll be back in time for training camp. But yeah, I think he's a three technique for the Raiders. So I personally wouldn't take him, but he's a talented player though.
Cool. All right. Who's after me?
I'm up with the Chargers, I believe.
Go for it.
Ideally, I would take an offensive tackle. I think that's one of their biggest needs for the Chargers. But with most of the top ones off the board, it's obviously not easy to take one. So I would say their next need would be defensive line. There's only one real name popping out at me in this situation. It would probably be Draymond Jones. I think that would be a safe pick around that spot.
Okay. All right, Ray.
It's not going to take long for the Chiefs to. They're going to run this pick up there real quick. They're going to take Byron Murphy, cornerback out of Washington.
Yep.
He helped really solidify that secondary. And considering the weapons that the Raiders just added, Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, and I really hesitate to say these two names, J.J. Nelson and Ryan Grant. But Murph comes in, becomes a really solid cover man tackler, and you combine him with I almost called him Muscle Hamster, Honey Badger, and the Chiefs secondary is remade to contend with the AFC West.
Yeah, I like Murphy just as 4.55 scared the crap out of me. But otherwise, I would have loved them. Anyways, Mike, you're up with the Packers.
All right, so everybody's got the Packers going quarterback here for some reason. I don't buy it for 1 second. Aaron Rodgers, 35. I guess some people view that as being old. I don't see it. I think the Packers starting quarterback in 4 or 5 years is going to be Aaron Rodgers. So I think if you take a quarterback here, you're wasting a pick. I think the due diligence that they've done on the quarterback class, the reason that everybody's speculating is because they've brought in the top quarterback prospects. But I think the reason they did it was in case one of these guys falls into day 2 to one of their picks there, then they might consider it just because Aaron Rodgers has been hurt a lot and you're drafting the guy to be, your backup for the next 2 or 3 years. And if he shows promise, then you can trade him and, recover something for him. Sort of like what the Patriots did with Jimmy Garoppolo. But you get yourself into trouble when you have an all-pro quarterback who's 35 years old and you start trying to draft the quarterback of the future. Again, New England can answer to that. They drafted Ryan Mallett to be the quarterback of the future, and I feel like he's been out of the league for 35 years at this point. Tom Brady's still the quarterback. So anyway, I'm going to go in a different direction and go Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State.
Ooh.
He probably won't play next year, tore his ACL. Everything I've heard is that this video of him, the unfortunate assault case, is that was a one-time thing. He said that he wasn't thinking. He was just trying to protect his family. And apparently he is a very good kid, and he's very well liked at Mississippi State. So I think the Packers draft him, give him a redshirt year, and then they have an impact player after that.
Alrighty, I'm up with the Rams. I'm tempted to go tight end, but I know that's not a need. But no offense, still available, but it's fine. I don't know how their running back situation is, but they need a linebacker. There's no one there. They need an edge. They need a cornerback. Who's there at quarterback? I'm going to give them my favorite cornerback, even though they need an edge here. I don't know if that's tough. This is tough. I think they can get both of these later on, but I'm going to give them DeAndre Baker.
Knew you was going to say that.
Yep. I'm going to give them DeAndre Baker.
I think it's a no-brainer with the way the balls fell. There's not really anyone at edge that I would take there because you can wait till the next round. I think Baker's a really good corner.
All right, you got the Pats.
I've got the Super Bowl champions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so massive story this off-season. Patriots legend, whatever you want to call him, Rob Gronkowski retires from the NFL. Massive need at tight end, and a player has fallen down the board considerably called Noah Fant. I think that's just an absolute no-brainer for the Patriots. A player like that falls to 32. I'm guessing their management is literally ecstatic.
Okay. All right, that's round 1 is over. Round 2, let's make it Let's make this. What do you call that word? Make it a speed round.